The Adventures of Jerry Parry and the Peterson Boys. It was an average day in the life of Jerry Parry up until Damata opened the front door and the sweet cat felt an overwhelming desire to run out of the house and chase some squirrels that were frequenting the front yard. This wasn't at all unusual, as Jerry Parry had the tendency of defending his territory, even if it was from little creatures like squirrels, which were otherwise only trying to enjoy the little lives they were given. Jerry couldn't catch a squirrel on that morning, but one thing did happen. That was noticing that the Peterson boys were also outside, and this started some hijinks. Apparently, the Peterson boys, unlike Jerry Parry, were actually forced to leave the house they were situated in on a daily basis and roam around the neighborhood. Jerry Parry went up to the Peterson boys and asked them how they were doing. They responded by saying that now that Jerry Parry was here, they could really get down to business. The Peterson boys were able to talk Jerry Parry into running along with them to Mouseville, which was actually a little bush nearby where they insisted that Jerry Parry help them catch some mice for sustenance. Jerry Parry wasn't really fond of this idea, as he had plenty of grub at home and never considered the mice the type of creatures that he would eat. Although he might have chased after them the same way as squirrels, but probably wouldn't know what to do if he caught them. Needless to say, the Peterson boys were rather insistent, and the next thing you knew, the three cats were trespassing in Mouseville. Mouseville was full of mice. It didn't take long for a mob of mice to come out of the bush and confront the three cats, where they demanded to know why they were trespassing in Mouseville. The Peterson boys were actually frightened by the mob of mice, and I guess you could say the cat got their tongue. Jerry Parry, unlike the Peterson boys, was very brave, and actually ended up explaining that he heard that Mouseville had some form of sustenance for him and his band of merry misfits. The leader of the mob identified himself as Sheldon and spoke to Jerry Parry privately, explaining that he thought this particular cat was pretty cool, although naive, and his mob of mice wouldn't have a problem if he departed while they take care of the Peterson boys, who the leader of the mob was convinced had come for more than they had bargained for. Jerry Parry didn't take this offer too well, as he felt that the Peterson boys were his friends, and attempted to negotiate a way for the Peterson boys to be spared from the mob of mice in the same manner as himself. The next thing you know, the three cats are hanging from a net attached to a tree branch, and the mob of mice are standing beneath it, looking up at them as though to say that they had been captured by the mob of mice, and Mouseville had their sustenance. That was when Jerry Parry explained that he was the Pharaoh's cat, and any harm that would come to him, or anybody protected by the Pharaoh, which included the Peterson boys, would result in dire consequences. The mob of mice laughed this off and continued their ritual of standing beneath them and waiting for their next move. Just then, Damata showed up wearing her Egyptian clothing and jewelry, as to be expected because she was in fact the Pharaoh. She screamed at the mob of mice and demanded they take Jerry Parry down from the net at once, or she would unleash the scarabs on them. The mob of mice were startled and even freaked out by Damata and her threat, and agreed to cooperate with her in terms of letting Jerry Parry and the Peterson boys down. In the end, the Peterson boys in particular learned a valuable lesson that they shouldn't always mess with mice, but maybe not as valuable as a lesson as Jerry Parry learned that maybe the Peterson boys weren't as good of friends as he thought, since they almost got him up in a shenanigan beyond repair. Damata knew the Peterson boys were hungry though, and cooked some salmon for all three of the cats, and they ate it happily and never went to Mouseville again. The end.